Can you imagine these words? Get out of my house. I don't need a sick daughter. Those were the last words my father said before shoving me into an October storm and locking the door. I was 15. No coat, no phone, no money, just algebra homework and rain soaking through my sneakers. 3 hours later, police called him. When he heard what they said, his face went white. But by then, way too late. If you're interested in this topic, hit the like button, subscribe, and type "interested" in the comments. And I will give you a heart. I'm sure walls. I'm 28 now, sitting in my Boston apartment, watching rain slide down the window like it's trying to tell me something. There's a letter on my kitchen table, shaky handwriting on cheap nursing home stationery. After 13 years of silence, my father wants to see me. Says he's dying. Says he's sorry. Funny thing about rain, it always takes me back to that night. October 14th, 2011. The night everything I thought I knew about family turned out to be a lie wrapped in betrayal and tied with a bow made of manipulation. The night I learned that blood doesn't always mean loyalty, and sometimes the people who are supposed to love you the most are the ones holding the knife behind their back. I remember coming home from school like it was any other Tuesday, backpack over one shoulder, head full of the algebra test I just aced. I was riding this little high, you know? That feeling when you know you nailed something, when the equations just clicked and you solved every problem like you were born to do it. I was thinking about dinner, about homework, about the band poster I wanted to buy with my birthday money. Normal 15-year-old stuff. The kind of mundane, beautiful, ordinary concerns that make up a teenager's life when everything is still safe. I had absolutely no idea that in less than 2 hours, I'd be walking alone through a freezing storm, wondering if I was going to survive the night. Isn't it wild how fast your life can change? How you can wake up as someone's daughter and go to bed as no one at all. How you can leave for school in the morning with a home and come back to find the locks changed on your entire existence. The moment I stepped through that front door, I knew something was catastrophically wrong. You know that feeling? When the air in a room is just different. Like the molecules themselves have rearranged into a pattern that spells danger? That's what I walked into. My father was standing in the living room looking like a volcano about to explode. His face was the color of raw meat, that angry, inflamed red that makes you take a step back without thinking. His hands were shaking, and he was holding a wad of cash in one fist and empty pill bottles in the other, like evidence at a crime scene. Like props in a play I hadn't auditioned for, but was somehow starring in. And then there was my sister Karen. She was 19, 4 years older than me, and she had this expression on her face, concerned, worried, heartbroken. The perfect picture of a devoted older sister who just discovered something terrible about her baby sibling. If I hadn't known her my whole life, I might have believed it. Hell, everyone else in that room believed it. But I saw her eyes. I caught that little flicker she couldn't quite hide. Satisfaction. That's what I saw. Pure, undiluted satisfaction. The kind of look a chess player gets when they know they're 3 moves away from checkmate and their opponent hasn't even seen it coming. She'd been planning this, and she was savoring every second of watching it unfold. Our stepmother, Jolene, hovered in the kitchen doorway, arms crossed, lips pressed together, saying absolutely nothing. That was her specialty, saying nothing while bad things happened. Some people are warriors. Some people are cowards. Jolene? She was a professional bystander with a PhD in looking the other way. My father didn't even let me put down my backpack. He started screaming like I'd set the house on fire, like I'd killed someone, like I was the worst thing that had ever happened to him. He said I'd been stealing from his wallet for months. He said I'd been buying pills, hiding them in my room. He said Karen had found the evidence. Cash stuffed in my dresser. Pill bottles in my closet. Text messages proving I was talking to drug dealers. Can you imagine that? Your own father, the man who's supposed to protect you, the man who taught you how to ride a bike and helped you with your multiplication tables, accusing you of being a drug addict at 15 years old based on evidence you'd never seen? Evidence you didn't even know existed until this very moment? I tried to explain. God, I tried. I tried to tell him I'd never touched his wallet, never seen those pills, didn't even know what he was talking about. My voice was shaking. I could hear myself sounding desperate, and I hated it, but I couldn't stop it. I was begging him to listen, to just pause for 1 second and actually look at me. Really look at me. But here's the thing about trying to defend yourself when someone's already made up their mind. The words die in your throat because you realize something horrible, something that changes everything. He's not listening. He's not even pretending to listen. His mind was already made up before you even walked through that door. The trial was over before you knew there was a trial. The verdict was guilty before you had a chance to speak. Karen had spent the whole day preparing him, feeding him lies like poison wrapped in sugar, little doses of venom disguised as concern. And he ate every single bite like it was medicine meant to save him. She stood there looking devastated, telling him she tried so hard to help me, tried to get me to stop. She said she hadn't wanted to tell him, but she just couldn't watch her little sister destroy herself anymore. It was a masterpiece performance, Academy Award worthy. And my father swallowed every single word like it was gospel truth handed down from heaven itself. That's the thing about golden children. They don't just get the benefit of the doubt. They get the whole damn benefit store with a loyalty card and a members-only discount. He grabbed my arm hard enough to leave bruises, and yeah, they stayed for 2 weeks, purple and yellow reminders of what family love looked like in our house, visible evidence that nobody asked me about, and dragged me toward the front door. My backpack was right there where I dropped it, textbooks spilling out because I'd been in such a good mood when I walked in that I hadn't even bothered to zip it properly. He picked it up and threw it at my chest so hard I stumbled backward. The weight of it, algebra, chemistry, English lit, hitting me like a physical blow. Then he opened the door. Rain was already coming down in sheets. Not a drizzle, not a sprinkle. Full-on October storm, the kind that soaks you in seconds and doesn't let up. Thunder rolling somewhere in the distance, like the sky itself was angry. The temperature had dropped 15 degrees since that morning. I'd left for school in a hoodie, thinking it was warm enough. Now I was looking at rain that might as well have been ice water. And my father looked me dead in the eyes and said those words again. Get out of my house. I don't need a sick daughter. Not, I'm disappointed. Not, we'll talk about this later. Not, let me think about this. Just get out. I don't need you. Like I was trash. Like I was something broken that he was throwing away because it was easier than trying to fix it. He pushed me onto the porch. The door slammed behind me with this final, decisive sound. The deadbolt clicked. Loud, unmistakable, permanent. And just like that, at 15 years old, I was homeless. Let that sink in for a moment. 15, the age when most kids are worried about who they're going to homecoming with or whether they'll pass their driver's test. The age when your biggest concern should be whether your crush likes you back or if you're going to make the team. I was standing on a porch in a storm, kicked out by my own father, with nothing but a backpack full of textbooks and the slow, creeping realization that I was completely alone. That the man who was supposed to love me unconditionally had just put conditions on that love, and I had failed to meet them. That I was now officially nobody's problem, nobody's priority, nobody's daughter. I stood on that porch for maybe 5 minutes, completely frozen, not from the cold, though that was coming. Oh, believe me, that was coming, but from shock, from the absolute disbelief that this was actually happening. I kept waiting for the door to open again, waiting for someone to say it was all a big misunderstanding, waiting for my father to realize he'd made a mistake, that I was his daughter, that you don't just throw away your child like yesterday's newspaper. Nobody came. The rain kept falling. The thunder kept rolling. And I kept standing there like an idiot, waiting for a rescue that wasn't coming. My phone was sitting on my bedroom desk. I wasn't allowed to grab anything except what was already in my hands. My backpack had textbooks, a half-eaten granola bar, and absolutely nothing useful for surviving a night outside. No jacket, no money, no way to call for help. This was 2011. Payphones still existed somewhere in theory, but who carries quarters? Not a 15-year-old who spent her allowance on band posters. Priorities, right? Straight A student, zero survival skills. Perfect. So I started walking. I didn't make a conscious decision about where to go. My body just moved on autopilot toward the only safe place I knew, my grandmother Dorothy's house. 7 miles away. My mom's mom. The one person who always looked at me like I mattered, like I was something worth keeping. The one person who never made me feel like I had to earn the right to exist. 7 miles doesn't sound like much when you're driving, right? It's like 10 minutes in a car, maybe 15 if you hit traffic. When you're walking through freezing rain in canvas sneakers with no coat, it might as well be 700 miles across broken glass while carrying weights on your shoulders. Route 9 stretched ahead of me, dark and slick with rain. The streetlights made these orange pools every 100 feet or so, but between them was just darkness and water and the sound of my own breathing getting harder. Cars splashed past without slowing down. Nobody even tapped their brakes. I was just a shadow on the roadside, a shape nobody wanted to look at too closely. Because that's the thing about suffering, it makes people uncomfortable. It's easier to drive past, to pretend you didn't see, to tell yourself someone else will help, to assume there's a good reason that kid is walking alone in a storm, to avoid getting involved because maybe it's complicated, maybe it's none of your business, maybe they deserve it somehow. That's what everyone told themselves as they drove past me. I could feel it in every car that didn't stop. After the first mile, my clothes were soaked through to my skin. That horrible, heavy feeling when fabric clings to you and you can't remember what dry feels like. After the second mile, I couldn't feel my fingers anymore. They'd gone from cold to numb, that dangerous stage where your body is starting to give up on the extremities to save the core. After the third mile, my teeth were chattering so hard I thought they might crack. That violent, uncontrollable shaking that feels like your skeleton is trying to escape your body. But I kept walking. What else could I do? Go back and beg my father to believe me? He'd already made up his mind. I had nowhere else to go except forward, one numb step at a time. Left foot, right foot, left foot, right foot. Don't think about the cold. Don't think about the distance. Don't think about what happens if you don't make it. Just keep moving. Here's something they don't tell you in health class. The thing about hypothermia is that you don't realize it's happening until it's almost too late. It's not like in the movies where you suddenly collapse dramatically. It's slow, insidious. Your body starts shutting down piece by piece, room by room, like someone's going through your house, turning off all the lights one at a time. First, your extremities. Fingers, toes, they go numb and useless. Then, your thinking gets fuzzy, like you're trying to remember something through a thick fog. And here's the really dangerous part. Suddenly sitting down for just a minute seems like the best idea in the world. Just a quick rest, just until you catch your breath. Then you'll keep going. You promise yourself you'll keep going. That's how people die in the cold. Not dramatically, not screaming for help, but quietly sitting down for a rest they never wake up from. They just go to sleep. And sleep sounds so good when you're that cold and that tired and that alone. I made it 4 miles before my legs gave out. 4 miles out of 7. So close and yet impossibly far. There was a mailbox up ahead, one of those big rural ones on a wooden post. I remember thinking I'd just lean against it for a second, catch my breath, then I'd keep going. Grandma's house was only 3 more miles. I could make it. I could do this. I just needed a minute. But my knees buckled before I got there. 1 second I was walking, the next I was falling, and the gravel came up fast. Sharp little stones biting into my palms, into my knees. And then everything went dark. Not gradually, not like falling asleep. Just click off, like someone unplugged me from existence. 3 hours after throwing his daughter into a storm, my father's phone rang. He was probably sitting in his recliner, probably watching TV like it was any other Tuesday night, probably trying not to think about me at all. The voice on the other end was cold and professional, the kind of voice that doesn't care about your excuses. Officer Daniels with County Police. There had been an incident. His daughter had been found unconscious on Route 9. Hypothermia. She was being transported to County General Hospital. And then came the words that must have hit him like a freight train. And one more thing, sir. Child Protective Services has been notified. A caseworker is already on site. We have some questions about why a 15-year-old girl was walking alone in a dangerous storm with no coat and no phone. We're going to need you to come down to the hospital. And, sir, bring whatever evidence you have. My father's face went pale as bone. I know because the hospital staff told me later. They said he looked like a man watching his whole life crumble in slow motion, like he was seeing for the first time what he'd actually done. Karen was standing right next to him when he got that call. And for the first time since this whole thing started, her perfect mask slipped. Just for a second, just a tiny crack. But it was enough, because suddenly this wasn't just a family matter anymore. This was official. This was police and social workers and hospitals and consequences. This was the kind of thing that shows up on records. The kind of thing that doesn't just go away. Because here's the thing about that night, the thing that changed everything. The woman who found me unconscious on that roadside wasn't just some random stranger driving home. Her name was Gloria Hensley, and she'd spent 35 years working for Child Protective Services. She'd seen every kind of abuse, every kind of neglect, every kind of lie that parents tell about their children. She knew exactly what she was looking at when she found a teenage girl in the rain with no coat and no phone and no one looking for her. And she wasn't about to let it slide. My father thought he was getting rid of a problem that night, thought he was cleaning house, cutting out the bad apple, protecting his family from a sick daughter who didn't deserve his love. But what he actually did was light a fuse, and he had no idea what was about to explode. But before we get to the hospital, before we get to the moment when everything Karen built came crashing down, you need to understand how we got here. You need to know about the years of manipulation, the systematic destruction of a little girl's life, and the $45,000 reason my sister wanted me gone. Because this wasn't just sibling rivalry. This was calculated. This was planned. And this was about money. To understand what happened that night, to really understand why my sister did what she did, I need to take you back. Back to when everything started falling apart. Back to when our family stopped being a family and became something else entirely. A battlefield where love was the first casualty. And I didn't even know I was fighting a war. My mother, Patricia, died in 2006. Cancer. I was 10 years old. Karen was 14. One day, we had a mom who made pancakes on Sunday mornings and braided my hair for school pictures. She'd sing off-key while doing the dishes. She'd leave little notes in our lunch boxes that said, "Love you, kiddo," with a smiley face. The next day, we were standing by a hospital bed watching machines beep slower and slower until they stopped altogether. You ever watch someone die? It's not like the movies. It's quiet. It's slow. It's the sound of a machine flatline that somehow sounds exactly like the end of the world. And then it's just silence. The worst kind of silence. The kind that tells you nothing will ever be the same again. My father didn't handle it well. That's putting it mildly. He basically collapsed in on himself like a dying star. Went to work, came home, sat in his recliner, stared at nothing. The house could have burned down around him, and I'm not sure he would have noticed. He was breathing, eating, existing, but he wasn't living. He was just a ghost wearing my father's face, going through the motions of being alive without actually participating in life. So Karen stepped up. At 14, she became the one who cooked dinner and signed permission slips and made sure I got to school on time. She became the responsible one, the mature one, the daughter my father could lean on. And he praised her for it constantly. "What would I do without you, Karen? You're so grown up, Karen." "You're the glue holding this family together, Karen." I don't think he ever once asked how she was handling our mother's death. He just expected her to handle everything else instead. And she did. Oh, she did. But there was a price for that responsibility, and I was the one who ended up paying it. My father had two blind spots in life, his oldest daughter and his beloved recliner. Both were worn out, falling apart at the seams, and desperately needed to be replaced. But he couldn't see it. Men and their recliners, I swear. What nobody saw, what my father absolutely refused to see, was what happened when he wasn't looking. Karen wasn't just stepping up. She was building a kingdom. And in her kingdom, I was the peasant who needed to be kept in her place. It started small. So small I almost didn't notice at first. Homework that mysteriously disappeared the night before it was due. I'd swear I put it in my backpack, but come morning, it was gone. Permission slips for field trips that somehow never made it to my teachers. I'd give them to Karen to give to Dad to sign, and they'd just vanish. My favorite shirt shrunk in the wash. Then another. Then another. Oops, must have been an accident. But 3 accidents in a row? 4? 5? That's not accidents. That's sabotage. Birthday party invitations I sent out that my friends never received. Messages from classmates that got lost. A reputation being built brick by brick without me even knowing. She was laying the foundation for my destruction years before she actually pulled the trigger. She'd go to my teachers with this sad, concerned expression and tell them I was struggling after our mother's death, that I was acting out at home, that they should be patient with me because I was going through such a hard time. She painted a picture of a troubled child, and everyone believed her because she was so mature, so responsible, so caring. The perfect older sister, trying so hard to help her struggling younger sibling. It was a masterpiece of manipulation. It was a lie, all of it, but it was a lie that everyone wanted to believe because it made sense. Because grief does mess kids up. Because it was easier to see me as broken than to see Karen as the one doing the breaking. I tried to tell my father once, just once. I sat him down and explained that Karen was sabotaging me, that she was lying about me to everyone, that something was seriously wrong. I remember feeling so nervous, my hands shaking, my voice cracking. I thought maybe, just maybe, he'd listen. He looked at me like I'd lost my mind. "You're just jealous of your sister," he said. "She's trying to help this family. You should be grateful." After that conversation, I learned to keep my mouth shut. Stay small, stay quiet, survive until I could get out. That became my motto. Just make it to 18. Just survive. 2 years after my mom died, my father remarried. Jolene was nice enough at first. She smiled a lot and made casseroles and tried really hard to be part of our family. She had this desperate quality about her, like she was auditioning for the role of good stepmother, and hoped we'd give her good reviews. Karen immediately started calling her mom. It was strategic, I think, a way to cement her position as the good daughter, the loyal one, the one who embraced change and made everyone's life easier. I couldn't do it. I couldn't call the stranger mom when my real mother had only been gone 2 years. It wasn't about Jolene. She seemed nice enough. It was about my own heart not being ready. It was about feeling like I'd be betraying the woman who actually gave birth to me, who actually loved me without conditions. I needed more time. I needed space to grieve. But that quiet rebellion cost me. From that day forward, Jolene treated me like an outsider in my own home. She and Karen formed their own little club, and I wasn't invited. They'd go shopping together, have coffee together, whisper together, and I'd be upstairs doing homework, hearing their laughter float up through the vents, knowing they were talking about me, knowing I was the problem they bonded over. By the time I was 15, the lines were clearly drawn. Karen was the golden child, the favorite, the one who could do no wrong. I was the troubled one, the difficult one, the daughter who just couldn't get it together. And nobody questioned it. Nobody asked why. Nobody wondered if maybe the story they'd been told wasn't the whole truth. They just accepted it as fact. And then there was the money. My mother had set up trust funds for both of us before she died. $45,000 each, accessible when we turned 18. It wasn't a fortune. It wasn't life-changing wealth, but it was something, a safety net, a gift from a mother who knew she wouldn't be there to help us start our adult lives. She'd planned for us, loved us enough to think ahead. Karen turned 18 in 2009 and got her share immediately. It was gone within 11 months. 11 months. Less than a year to burn through $45,000. A flashy sports car that broke down after 6 months because she never changed the oil. Designer clothes that went out of style. Expensive gifts for her boyfriend Trent. A smooth-talking guy with big ideas and absolutely no legitimate income. The kind of guy who's always one deal away from making it big. Always has a scheme. Always needs just a little more money to make it happen. By the time I was kicked out 2 years later, Karen was completely broke. Her trust fund was a distant memory, spent on nothing that lasted, nothing that mattered. And Trent was always talking about his next big opportunity, his next investment scheme, the deal that was definitely going to make them rich this time. For real this time, just needed a little capital to get started. My $45,000 was just sitting there, untouchable until 2014 when I'd turn 18. Unless something happened to me first. See, my mother's trust had a clause in it, a protection mechanism she probably thought would help us. If either daughter was declared legally incompetent or institutionalized before age 21, her share would be managed by a court-appointed family guardian until she recovered. It made sense on paper. If something terrible happened, if we got sick, if we needed help, there'd be someone to manage the money responsibly until we were better. My mom was thinking about worst-case scenarios, about protection, about safety. She had no idea she was handing Karen a blueprint. Karen and Trent figured out what that meant. If I got institutionalized for substance abuse, say because my father found pills and cash and evidence of drug dealing in my room, then someone would need to manage my trust fund on my behalf. Someone responsible, someone trustworthy, someone like a concerned older sister who only wanted what was best for me. $45,000. That's what I was worth to Karen. That's the price she put on her own sister. That's how much money it took for her to look me in the eyes and decide I was worth destroying. The week before she destroyed my life, she put her plan into motion. Small cash withdrawals from my father's account using his ATM card. She knew his PIN because she handled all the household finances. She was the responsible one, remember? Trent's empty prescription bottles, collected and saved. A prepaid burner phone purchased at a convenience store, loaded with fake text messages that would look like I was talking to dealers. She spent days crafting those messages, making them sound realistic, creating a narrative of a troubled teen spiraling into addiction. On the morning of October 14th, while I was eating breakfast and thinking about my algebra test, Karen slipped into my room and planted everything. Cash in my dresser drawer, pills in my closet, a piece of paper with the burner phone number written on it. Proof of my drug dealer contact. Then she went to our father with tears in her eyes and told him his youngest daughter had a terrible secret. She'd tried to help me. She'd tried to get me to stop, but she just couldn't watch me destroy myself anymore. She couldn't enable my addiction. She loved me too much to stay silent. He believed every word. Why wouldn't he? Karen had spent 9 years being the perfect daughter, the responsible one, the one who never lied. She'd been building her credibility since she was 14 years old. Brick by brick, sacrifice by sacrifice, creating a reputation so solid that when she finally needed it, when she finally cashed in all that goodwill, nobody questioned her. Not for a second. And I had spent 9 years being painted as the troubled one before I even knew the portrait existed. Before I even realized I was being framed for a crime I hadn't committed yet. By the time I walked through that front door after school, my trial was already over. The verdict was guilty and the sentence was exile. That's how I ended up on Route 9 in October rain, walking toward my grandmother's house like it was the only light left in the world. But Karen made one mistake, one tiny error in her perfect plan. She didn't account for Gloria Hensley. That woman didn't just save my life. She started a chain reaction that would expose every lie Karen had ever told. Because while I was unconscious in that hospital bed, things were happening. Evidence was being collected. Questions were being asked. And my grandmother Dorothy was on her way, ready to burn down the world to protect me. Karen thought she'd won, but the game was just beginning. I don't remember much about collapsing, just the gravel biting into my palms, and then nothing, like someone switched off a television in the middle of a show. What I remember is waking up. Fluorescent lights buzzing overhead, the smell of antiseptic and industrial floor cleaner, a scratchy hospital blanket tucked around me like I was something fragile, something worth protecting. I hadn't felt that way in years, maybe ever. And there was a woman sitting beside my bed, silver hair pulled back in a neat bun, reading glasses perched on her nose, a paperback novel closed in her lap. She looked like someone's grandmother, the kind who baked cookies and always had tissues in her purse. But her eyes were sharp, observant, cataloging everything they saw, like she was reading a story written in invisible ink and she was the only one who could see it. Her name was Gloria Hensley. She was 67 years old, retired after 35 years with Child Protective Services. She'd seen every kind of abuse, every kind of neglect, every kind of cruelty that adults could inflict on children. She'd seen parents who hit, parents who starved, parents who locked their kids in closets and basements and told them they deserved it. She'd seen the worst of humanity, dressed up in the language of love and discipline. And on a cold October night, driving home from her book club meeting, her headlights had caught something by the roadside. A teenage girl, unconscious, soaking wet, alone. Gloria pulled over so fast her tires screamed against the pavement. She had an emergency blanket in her trunk, old habits from her CPS days, the kind of preparation that becomes second nature when you've spent decades rescuing children from dangerous situations. And she wrapped me up like a burrito while she called 911. She stayed with me until the ambulance arrived, holding my hand, checking my pulse, talking to me even though I couldn't hear her. She followed the ambulance to the hospital, and when I woke up 4 hours later, she was still there, still waiting, still watching over me like I mattered. That woman might have saved my life, not just because she found me before the hypothermia finished what the storm started, but because she was exactly the right person at exactly the right moment. Divine intervention, fate, cosmic coincidence, call it whatever you want. I call it the universe, finally deciding I'd suffered enough. She handed me a cup of coffee when I opened my eyes. Hospital cafeteria coffee, the kind that tastes like regret brewed at 200 degrees. "This is terrible," she said with a small smile, "but it's warm." I laughed, actually laughed, and for the first time in hours, maybe days, maybe years, I felt something other than fear. She smiled back, this knowing, gentle smile that said she understood more than I realized. "There she is," she said. "Now, why don't you tell me why a 15-year-old was walking alone on Route 9 in a storm with no coat and no phone?" So I told her everything. The accusations, the planted evidence, the years of Karen's manipulation, the systematic destruction of my reputation, the way my father chose to believe her without question, without investigation, without even asking for my side of the story. I told her things I'd never told anyone, because no one had ever actually listened. Gloria just sat there nodding occasionally, never interrupting, never doubting, never once looking at me like I was crazy or dramatic or lying. When I finished, she was quiet for a long moment. Then she said 7 words that changed my life. "I believe you, and I'm going to help you prove it." While I was unconscious, things had been happening. The hospital contacted police because a minor had been found in a dangerous situation. Standard procedure. Police tried to reach my next of kin. That meant calling my father. And here's where everything started to unravel for him. Officer Daniels delivered the news with professional coldness. Mr. Walls, your 15-year-old daughter was found unconscious on Route 9. She says you expelled her from your home this evening during a storm. Hypothermia. She's at County General. We need you to come in. And sir, Child Protective Services has been notified. A caseworker is already on site. Bring whatever evidence you have. I would have loved to see his face when those words sank in, when he realized that throwing me out wasn't a private family matter anymore, when he understood that there would be official questions, official reports, official consequences. Apparently his face went white as a sheet. Karen was standing right behind him when he got that call, and for the first time in this entire nightmare, her mask slipped. Not completely, but enough. My father and Karen arrived at the hospital around 10:15 that night. I was awake by then, sitting up in my hospital bed with Gloria beside me like a guardian angel in orthopedic shoes. Also in the room, a CPS case worker named Maria Santos and a uniformed police officer. Not exactly the welcome committee my father was expecting. He looked shaken, not guilty yet, not remorseful, just annoyed and confused, like this was all a big inconvenience that was interrupting his evening, like I was being dramatic and causing problems again. Karen was right behind him, and for the first time in my life, I saw her look nervous. The smirk she'd been wearing when I left the house wasn't anywhere to be found. Her eyes kept darting around the room, taking in all the official people, all the serious faces, all the implications she hadn't fully considered when she was planting evidence in my bedroom. They expected to find a scared, apologetic girl ready to confess her sins and beg to come home. Instead, they found a room full of professionals asking very pointed questions about why a child was wandering alone and dangerous, whether with no means of communication or protection. The power dynamic had shifted, and Karen felt it. She tried to run her usual script. Concerned older sister, troubled younger sibling. We just want what's best for her. But Maria Santos wasn't buying it. 30 years of social work had given her a finely tuned radar for deception, and Karen was setting off every single alarm. Then my grandmother arrived. Dorothy Reeves was 67 years old, 5'2" of pure determination, wrapped in a cardigan and sensible shoes. And she was absolutely not in the mood for nonsense. My mother was her only daughter. I was her only grandchild, and she had never trusted my father or his new family, not from day one. She'd always seen something off about the dynamic in that house, always noticed how I shrank when Karen was around, always wondered why I was so quiet, so careful, so desperate to please. She lived 40 minutes from the hospital. She made it in 25. I heard her before I saw her, that distinctive click of sensible heels coming down the hallway at a pace that meant business. Someone was about to get their ass handed to them, and that someone was my father. She swept into my room like a small, silver-haired hurricane and immediately positioned herself between me and my father. Physical barrier, emotional shield, grandmother lion protecting her cub. "That's my granddaughter," she announced to everyone present, pointing at me. "What has this fool done now?" My father tried to explain, tried to justify, started talking about the stealing, the pills, the evidence that Karen had found. Dorothy listened for about 30 seconds before holding up one hand like a traffic cop. "Raymond," she said, and her voice was ice cold. "I've known you for 15 years, and you've never been the sharpest tool in the shed. But this might be your dumbest moment yet. You threw a child into a storm based on what? Pills that appeared out of nowhere. Cash that magically materialized. Did you even ask her side of the story?" He opened his mouth, closed it, opened it again. Nothing came out. Dorothy nodded slowly. "That's what I thought. Here's the thing about my grandmother. She didn't just love me. She fought for me. That night, while I sat exhausted and hypothermic in a hospital bed, Dorothy Reeves went to war. She demanded an emergency custody hearing. Right there, right then. It was nearly midnight, but she didn't care. She called a family court judge who owed her a favor. Apparently, Dorothy had been on the PDA with his wife for 15 years and had covered for him when he forgot their anniversary, and got him on the phone at 11:47 p.m. The hospital's social worker presented the facts. A minor child expelled into dangerous weather conditions. No investigation conducted before expulsion. No attempt to verify accusations. Child found unconscious with early-stage hypothermia. Father's evidence unexamined by any professional. The judge didn't need to hear much more. By 12:30 in the morning, I had a new home. Emergency temporary guardianship was granted to Dorothy Reeves, effective immediately. My father was ordered to have no contact with me until a full investigation was completed. CPS would be interviewing everyone. Me, Karen, my father, Jolene, my teachers, my friends, and they would be taking a very close look at that so-called evidence. As we walked out of the hospital, my father tried one more time. He reached toward me, started to say something that might have been an apology or might have been another accusation. I'll never know. Dorothy stepped between us without breaking stride. "You don't get to touch her," she said. Her voice was quiet, but it carried the weight of absolute authority. "You don't get to talk to her. You had your chance to be her father, and you threw it away. Literally threw it into a storm. Now we're leaving." She guided me out to her old Buick, the one she'd been driving since before I was born, helped me into the passenger seat like I was made of glass, tucked another blanket around me even though the car heater was already blasting. I looked at her with tears streaming down my face. "Grandma, I don't even have clean clothes. I don't have anything." She patted my hand. Her eyes were fierce and gentle at the same time. "Honey, you have me, and I have a Target card. Tomorrow we shop. Tonight you eat soup and sleep in a bed where nobody is going to throw you out. Ever." That was the first night of my new life. Grandma Dorothy's house had 3 rules. Breakfast at 8, homework before TV, and absolutely no nonsense before her second cup of coffee. It wasn't fancy. It wasn't big. 2 bedrooms, 1 bathroom, a kitchen that always smelled like coffee and cinnamon. But it was warm, and it was safe, and it was full of love. For the first time in years, I felt like I could breathe. Like I could exist without constantly watching over my shoulder, waiting for the next sabotage, the next lie, the next betrayal. But the story wasn't over. Not even close. 2 weeks later, the CPS investigator called my grandmother. "Mrs. Reeves," Maria Santos said, and I could hear the excitement in her voice even through the phone. "You might want to sit down. We've been examining the evidence Mr. Walls provided. The timeline doesn't add up, and we found some security footage that tells a very different story." Karen's perfect plan was about to fall apart, and she had no idea what was coming. The investigation changed everything, because Maria Santos wasn't just a case worker checking boxes. She was a detective in a cardigan, and she didn't just look at evidence, she traced it. Every receipt, every timestamp, every thread, and the more she pulled, the more Karen's perfect story unraveled like a cheap sweater. What they found wasn't just proof of my innocence. It was proof of something much darker. Proof of premeditation. Proof of fraud. Proof of a crime that had been planned for weeks. And Karen? She was about to learn that being the golden child doesn't protect you from the law. The investigation changed everything. Maria Santos wasn't just a case worker checking boxes. She was a detective in a cardigan. And she didn't just look at evidence, she traced it. Every receipt, every timestamp, every thread. And the more she pulled, the more Karen's perfect story unraveled. It started with the cash. $800 had been found in my dresser drawer. My father said it proved I'd been stealing from him for months. Except Maria Santos actually checked the bank records. That $800 came from a single ATM withdrawal on October 14th, the same day I was kicked out. Not months of small thefts. One withdrawal, one transaction. The bank provided surveillance footage. Timestamp 2:47 in the afternoon. The person on camera wasn't me. It was Karen, clear as daylight. Same jacket, same ponytail, same car parked in the background. Her white sedan with a dent in the bumper from when she'd backed into a mailbox the previous summer. Here's the thing about alibis. Mine was airtight. At 2:47 p.m. on October 14th, I was sitting in 5th period chemistry class. The school attendance system showed me present until 3:15. My teacher remembered me asking a question about electron sharing at 2:50. 3 minutes after Karen was at that ATM. I couldn't have made that withdrawal. Physically impossible. Karen thought she was so clever. But here's the thing about being a criminal mastermind. You actually have to be smart. She used our father's ATM card without considering that banks have cameras. She made the withdrawal in the middle of the afternoon without checking if I had an alibi. She bought the burner phone at a convenience store 2 blocks from her gym, on camera, in her yoga pants, with her car visible in the parking lot. Then there were the pills. The bottles planted in my closet were traced back to a prescription for Trent Barlow, Karen's boyfriend. Anxiety medication prescribed by his doctor, filled at the pharmacy on Oak Street. Maria Santos called that pharmacy. Trent had reported those pills stolen, filed a police report and everything, except he filed that report on October 17th, 3 days after I was kicked out. If those pills were already stolen and hidden in my room on October 14th, why did Trent wait 3 days to report the theft? Because they weren't stolen. Karen gave them to him to plant, and then he reported them missing afterward to cover their tracks. The delayed theft report was like a flashing neon sign that said, "We planned this." But the real smoking gun was the burner phone. The fake drug dealer texts came from a prepaid phone purchased at a convenience store on October 10th, for days before everything went down. Maria Santos tracked down the store and requested their security footage. The buyer was a young woman, brown hair in a ponytail, athletic build, paid cash, but her car was clearly visible through the window, a white sedan with a dent in the bumper. As the investigation deepened, an even uglier picture emerged. Maria Santos started digging into our family's finances. Someone had been forging checks in my father's name for nearly 2 years. Small amounts at first. $50 here, $100 there, but they added up. The signatures were close, but not quite right. The money went to accounts connected to Trent Barlow. Total amount stolen? Just under $18,000. Karen hadn't just framed me. She'd been robbing our father blind for years, and she needed me gone before anyone noticed. She needed a scapegoat, and she'd spent 9 years building that narrative until everyone saw me the way she wanted them to see me. My grandmother, Dorothy, hired Leonard Vance, an old family friend who'd practiced family law for 30 years. He'd known my mother since grade school. And when Dorothy explained what had happened, his face went hard in a way that made me glad he was on my side. Leonard filed for permanent guardianship immediately. He also filed a civil suit against Karen for fraud and emotional distress. And he made sure my trust fund was protected, so nobody could touch it until I turned 18. Living with Grandma Dorothy was like learning to breathe again. Her house wasn't big or fancy, but it was warm and safe. She enrolled me in a new school where nobody knew my history. I made real friends for the first time. I started seeing a counselor, finally processing years of manipulation. Grandma Dorothy didn't have a lot of rules, but she was strict about one thing: dinner at 6. No exceptions. She said chaos can wait until after the meatloaf. Meanwhile, my father's world was crumbling. Raymond was questioned multiple times, each session leaving him more exhausted and confused. How had he missed so much? Jolene started sleeping in the guest room. She hadn't stopped him from kicking me out. She'd stood there in silence and watched it happen. And Karen? Karen was furious. Not sorry. Never sorry. Just angry that her plan had fallen apart. She blamed everyone but herself. The CPS investigator was biased. The bank footage was misleading. Trent's prescription records were a misunderstanding. The golden child's crown was slipping, and she couldn't stand it. Leonard Vance spent months building an airtight case. Bank records, surveillance footage, pharmacy documents, phone purchase receipts. He collected witness statements from Gloria Hensley, from my teachers, from neighbors. Even some of Karen's former friends came forward. Turns out she'd burned a lot of bridges, and people were happy to share stories about her lies, her manipulation, her casual cruelty. The court date was set for March 2012, but 1 month before the hearing, something unexpected happened. Trent Barlow got arrested in Nevada. Federal marshals picked him up for running an investment scam in 3 different states. Over $400,000 stolen from victims. He was facing 15 years in prison. His lawyer made a phone call the next day. Trent was ready to cooperate, ready to make a deal, ready to tell the truth about everything. Trent Barlow wasn't loyal. The moment federal prosecutors offered him a reduced sentence, he sang like a canary. His written statement was 12 pages long, detailing everything. He confirmed it all. The plan to frame me had been Karen's idea from the beginning. She'd been stealing from our father for nearly 2 years. When she realized her theft was getting harder to hide, she decided she needed a scapegoat. That scapegoat was me. Karen figured I was the perfect target, the troubled younger sister, the one nobody would believe. She told Trent that getting me institutionalized would solve 2 problems at once. She'd have someone to blame for the missing money, and she'd get access to my trust fund as my guardian. $45,000. That's what she planned to steal from me while I sat in some facility, drugged and discredited and completely alone. Trent wrote it all down. The planning sessions, the pill bottles he provided, the burner phone Karen purchased, the morning she planted the evidence. He even included text messages between them from the days leading up to October 14th, messages that proved this wasn't impulsive. It was calculated, premeditated, cold. His final line stayed with me. Karen said her sister was a nobody who wouldn't fight back. She was wrong. March 2012. Family court. I'd been living with Grandma Dorothy for 5 months. I'd gained weight, made honor roll, started to remember what it felt like to be normal. But walking into that courtroom, I felt 15 again, scared and small. Grandma Dorothy squeezed my hand. Leonard Vance nodded reassuringly. And Gloria Hensley was there too, sitting in the gallery, wearing the same fierce expression she'd had the night she found me. I wasn't alone. The hearing turned into something much bigger than guardianship. The district attorney had gotten involved. With Trent's confession and Maria Santos's evidence, there were criminal charges on the table. Fraud, theft, filing false statements, child endangerment. Karen sat on the other side with a public defender she'd met an hour before. She looked smaller than I remembered, paler. The confident golden child now looked like exactly what she was, a scared young woman whose lies had finally caught up with her. Our father sat alone in the gallery. Jolene had refused to come. He looked like he'd aged 10 years in 5 months. The evidence was presented systematically. ATM footage showing Karen at 2:47 p.m. My school attendance records. Pharmacy records. Security footage from the convenience store. 2 years of forged checks totaling $18,000. And Trent's confession, read into the record word by word. When it was Karen's turn to take the stand, she tried to maintain her story. The prosecutor wasn't having it. "Ms. Walls," she said, showing the ATM photograph. "Is this you at First National Bank on October 14th at 2:47 p.m.? Karen swallowed. I was getting money for groceries. $800 in cash for groceries? And you didn't mention this withdrawal to your father when you accused your sister of stealing that exact amount later, that same day." Silence. "And the location of this ATM? It's 12 miles from your sister's school. a school where attendance records show she was present until 3:15 p.m. Can you explain how she could have made this withdrawal while sitting in chemistry class? More silence. The evidence was the evidence. Then they called Jolene. My stepmother looked like she wanted to be anywhere else. The prosecutor asked about the morning of October 14th. Did she see anything unusual? Jolene's voice was barely above a whisper. Karen went into Scher's room that morning around 7 a.m. She said she was borrowing a hair tie. Did she come out with a hair tie? No, she came out empty-handed. And did you notice anything else in the days before the incident? Jolene closed her eyes. 2 days before, I overheard Karen on the phone with Trent. She said, "Everything is in place." And then she laughed. The courtroom went absolutely still. Karen's sentence came down hard. 2 years suspended sentence. 5 years of supervised probation. 200 hours of community service. Full restitution of all stolen funds. Permanent restraining order. She couldn't come within 500 feet of me. And here's the part that would follow her forever. Felony conviction. Permanently on her record. No more jobs in finance. No positions involving money or trust. The golden child had a scarlet letter now. My father lost guardianship, rights permanently. He was ordered to pay for my therapy and educational expenses until I turned 21. Judge Patricia Morrison's words cut through the courtroom. Mr. Walls, trust is not an excuse for negligence. You expelled a minor child into dangerous weather conditions based on unverified accusations. You made no attempt to investigate. You chose one daughter over another without evidence, without reason, without basic parental judgment. That is not parenting. That is abandonment. As we walked out of the courthouse, my father tried one last time to approach me. "Sweetheart," he started. Dorothy stepped between us without breaking stride. "You don't get to call her that anymore. You lost that right when you threw her into a storm." The sun was shining that day, March warmth, full of promise. I had a grandmother who loved me, a lawyer who'd fought for me, people who'd believed me when no one else would. And I had a future, finally. But some stories don't end with the courtroom. 13 years later, a letter would arrive. October 2024. I'm 28 years old. Life is good. I'm a marketing director in Boston. I'm engaged to a pediatric nurse who makes me laugh. I've built a life that 15-year-old me couldn't have imagined. Then a letter arrived. Shaky handwriting on nursing home stationery. My father wanted to see me. Said he was dying. Said he was sorry. And I had to decide after everything, after all the years, after all the pain, if forgiveness was even possible.